Hey, beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. I guess you can call it a podcast. And today we are doing Married to Medicine. It is season 8, episode 14, and the episode is called Scott's Secret. Scott. Well, the episode starts with Dr. Contessa, and she's, talking to one of her patients, and all I hear him say is something about his libido. And she's like, yeah, because you're still going to want to be getting it in when you turn a certain age. And, they just kind of skip around to all the people like they normally do. They go to Dr. Heavenly, and she's apparently cleaning out the closet or something. I don't know if it's Laura's closet or her closet, but she's like, oh, this is mine. Or is this yours? And then she said, we wear about the same thing, the same size. Laura said, girl, like, please. I just love them together. I swear, a spinoff with her and Allura and Dr. Simone and her youngest son, I would watch it. I would definitely watch it. They are very entertaining. Then we get to Anila. She pulls up at Quad's house and she's ringing the bell. Quad's like, I'm coming. However, she proceeds to continue to clean her wine glasses. And then she's like, oh, she can wait. It's okay. She'll be happy from what I'm doing. I'm cleaning the wine glasses. And I'm like, why would she be happy that you left her standing outside with all these bags while you clean wine glasses, which you could clean when she gets inside the house as well? Just don't pour it yet until it's all clean and dry. Come on, Quad. And so she walks in and she opens these bags, and Quad is like, hey, did you have a fight with your man or something? You can stay here. This is a safe place for you, but only for about a day. And I'm like, Quad is stupid. She's like, yeah, I just don't open up my little apartment to anybody. I'm like, Quad is so shady, but I love it. So Anila takes out all this hair, and she's like, I got raw Indian hair, and all the bloggers wears weave, and you gotta wear weave and this and that. And she's like, and who better to appreciate some hair besides Quad? And Quad really did appreciate it. She's just like rubbing on it, and she's combing her fingers through it, and she's like, you gotta take care of the weave like you take care of your vagina. You really gotta take care of it. And I'm not sure why they why she brought all that hair over. I don't know if she was giving her some, or they working on something together. They kind of never really addressed why she brought the hair over, but it was a cute scene. So they eventually sit down, have some wine, and of course they get to Toya. And Quad is like, yeah, the problem with Toya is that she just doesn't take accountability. She just doesn't. And Anila's, of course, is agreeing. And not doctor, but Quad is just like, she's kind of self-aware. She's not self-aware enough. Like, she doesn't understand what she's doing, or, she just lacks it. She just lacks self-awareness, basically. And Quad just says all she wants an apology. All she needs to do is apologize and we're good. But, she won't do that. And, they go on about that. Anila adds a couple of little things, but it's not a huge deal. And then Quad says, well, do you think she has a problem with you because your place is 14,000 square feet and hers is 9,000 square feet? That could be a problem for Toya. And mainly because Toya is she's very competitive, which is crazy because it's not her money, it's her husband's money, but she's super competitive. And she's just very shallow. It's all about what you have with Toya. And I'm not gonna get into how much I dislike Toya. I feel like everybody knows, so no point in me harping on it. So then we get to Simone and Cecil. So Simone's home and she's working on some things, I guess, for the event that they have coming up for the voters, and the trying to get the people out, make sure they vote. And in comes Cecil. He has a backpack on. He had a listing he needed to show or whatever. And she's like, yeah, come here, let me show you something. And he's like, he looks scared for real, y'all. Like, literally, he was like tiptoeing, like, should I don't know, should I get a drink? I don't know. And she's like, yeah, get yourself something to drink. This fool says, yeah, let me pour a swig of eggnog. I'm like, he is old school. A swig? Really, a swig? So he pours his swig of eggnog and comes to sit down. She shows him a clip from the news where the news lady is like, yeah, this lady, and they show Lisa Nicole, is being investigated because her lab did COVID testing and people have yet to receive their results. And then they blur out faces, but it's like maybe 4 or 5 different people that they're showing. These people have yet to receive their results from their COVID test, a while ago, like months and months ago. So she was under investigation per the news clip. So Simone is like, well, do you think that people will still, associate with us? Or should we still associate with Lisa Nicole because her name is on here and it's not looking good? And she's just like, you know what? She's just going to end up having to tell what's happening because the girls are going to want to know. Like, she's going to have to speak on it for sure. And he's like, for sure, she's definitely going to have to. And then she says, well, I'm going to have to call Dr. Heavenly first because I hate to say it, but she was right. Should not have done any type of business with Lisa Nicole. So Heavenly gets a call from Simone while she's in the confessional. They show her receive a phone call, and she's like, oh, it's Simone. Can I take this? They tell her yes. She's like, hey, Simone. Hey, honey. And Simone's like, yeah, did you see the video that I sent you? No, I ain't get a chance to see it. Hold on, let me see. Am I naked? Simone's like, yeah, you're naked. And she's like, oh, shoot. So she watched the clip, and she's just like, oh, okay, well, she kind of pleads the fifth on it, which is surprising. She's like, yeah, I'm just not really going to say nothing about this because, she and I don't have a really good history. So she didn't really want to say nothing. So they get off the phone, and she asked the producers, can I call Dr. Jackie? And I'm like, oh, that's who she really want to talk to about it. She want to try and talk to Simone. That's not her friend. It's not her friend. Which is unfortunate because I did love them together. I really like Dr. Simone, Dr. Heavenly, and Dr. Jackie being friends. They're dynamic. Like, they had fun. They were funny. And I like the whole dynamic. But they're not friends. So she was just like, listen, I got nothing to say to Simone. So she asked to call Dr. Jackie. And they like, fine. So she calls Dr. Jackie. And then they three-way in quad. So she tells what's happening. And Dr. Jackie's like, look, basically she ain't got nothing to say. She's like, I'm on call, or, I'm in labor and delivery or something. So she didn't have much to add. And Quad, surprisingly, said, well, there's 2 sides to every story. We're just going to have to hear Lisa Nicole out and, refrain from making judgment until we hear every side. Dr. Heavenly says, listen, I got stuff to do. I guess basically because she wasn't hearing what she wanted to hear. And they leave it at that. So, not to mention, Quad said she was on a date. She's like, girl, you lucky as you, or else I wouldn't have answered because I'm on a date. So Dr. Heavenly's like, is it a date that, somebody you knew already? Did you date him already? And she's like, why? And she's like, I just want to know if you slept with him already, baby. Like, I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm like, Heavenly. She's so stupid. I love it. She's so dumb. The stuff she says, and she says it like she's dead ass serious. So let's get to Dr. Contessa. We then go to Dr. Contessa. She's cooking, and it looks like she's doing maybe some sort of seafood boil because she got like corn on the cob and big old potatoes and stuff that she's boiling kind of all together. Even though she's kind of putting it in real slow, but I guess that's what she's making. And she gets a call from her, hold on, what does she call this lady? From her life coach. And it's a FaceTime, so they're talking, and as they're talking, Dr. Scott comes in, and he's like, hey, and he's looking all confused, and he's like, what's going on? She's like, nothing, talking to the life coach. He's like, oh, okay, well, should I leave? And she's like, no. So he's standing there and behind her, and he's like on his phone. And you hear the life coach like, well, yeah, because you don't like whining and complaining, or you don't like whining or complaining. And he's like, he makes a face like, really? And then he's like, you know what? I really feel like I need to get out of here. Like I feel like I need to go. And she's like, no, you don't have to go. And she's like, you just always have something to add when it's negative as opposed to positive. Because she's like, are you saying that I whine? And he's like, no. And she's like, are you saying that I complain? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, always have something negative to say. And she's like, it's either, it's never a compliment with you. So they end up getting off the phone with the life coach. He sits down. It's super awkward. And she's like, why'd you get married? And he's like, because I want to have a successful marriage, this and that. And she's like, well, what are you going to do to make it successful? What are you going to do to work on it? And he's like, listen, we're working on it, this and that. Dr. Scott is just very vague. I do understand what she's saying. And then she immediately starts crying, like, talking to you is like talking to a brick wall. And she's like, or maybe she said concrete wall. She said some kind of wall. And she's like, because you never really have any answers, you end up getting frustrated and walking out. You don't want to talk about it no more. He's like, nah, I don't really do that. So some kind of way they got around to life coaches. And he's like, yeah, I got one. And she's like, since when? And he's like, for about 7 or 8 months or so. And she's like, you ain't never said nothing about no life coach to me. So who is she? Yeah, I talked to this lady. I haven't paid her a dime. And I talk to her periodically. And it's been about 7 or 8 months or whatever. And she's like, well, if you got a life coach, then why wouldn't you say anything to me, number one? And number two, why aren't you changing? I mean, it's just not changing. Nothing with you is changing for you to have a life coach that's giving you all these little tidbits of wisdom, because it's true. If you're getting somebody that's giving you, even if you pick up a little bit of it, some things are going to change just a little bit. Like you're going to adjust your personality and the way you go about doing things. So if she hasn't seen any sort of adjustments, Dr. Scott got a secret for sure. The same way they said. I mean, that's the title of the show, and he definitely got a secret. So she's like, well, where'd you meet her? And he's like, I looked her up online. And she's like, ugh. So again, they end up getting into it or whatever, and he's just like, I'm not gonna do this today. I'm not gonna do it today. And he gets up and walks out, as she said he always does. And then I don't know if it was editing or what, but like immediately as soon as he left, she was just, because she told him. That's Dr. Contessa said, hold on. I'm sorry, I'm reading my notes because what she said was, it was powerful. She said, if you don't want to try, then I'll stop trying. Just let me know. She's like, just kind of let me know where you stand. If we're done and you're not in this, then let me know that you're not in this. She's like, basically, because he's like, I'm not a bad dude. And she's like, I never said you were a bad dude. I just said that we're disconnected and I want us to reconnect, and I'm trying and you're not. So she's like, if you're not in it, let me know. And he's like, I'm not doing this today. And he gets up and walks out, which is exactly what she said he does. Scott, I was rooting for you. I really was. Like, I liked Dr. Scott. I even felt a little sorry for him when Tessa was doing her schoolwork and stuff out of town or whatever. I understand those are his kids and everything, but he just wasn't used to it. So his complaining he was a little ridiculous, I ain't gonna lie. But she was trying to, better herself and get she was trying to better herself. So he was kind of impossible, but I felt a little bad for him. I did. But now it's like after last episode with him smiling at this esthetician, and now with this lady he looked up online that he's been talking to periodically that he has not paid a dime to, I think it'd be better if you paid her. But the fact that you saying you haven't paid her and y'all just talk, that's a problem. So anyway, he gets up and walks out. She stops crying immediately. And like I said, I don't know if it's editing or what, but she stops crying immediately. So I'm just like, maybe she just wanted to be away from him, like get away from me. So then we're at the convention center. Everyone shows up. Toya asks Quad if she practiced, because I guess Quad is like the MC. Quad is like, no, I don't need to practice. I know what I'm doing. I did this for like 4 years. I guess talking about Sister Circle. And Toya's like, well, Quad always thinks she doesn't have to practice, but maybe if she practiced, she would be employed. And when I tell you, I screamed at the TV. I really did. I was like, what about you? What about you, Toya? Toya is unbelievable. She really is. Like, the stuff she say, I'm so tired of. It's just too easy. I'm so tired of going in on Toya because it's just too easy. And so the things that she say is just like, I can't believe it's coming out of her mouth. Trying to give Anila financial advice, and now you're talking about Quad not having a job. Quad has books and stuff out. Like, what do you have out? What are you doing, ma'am? Anyway, they end up doing the whole panel. It was very informative. The lady spoke, and they also had the commissioner and I believe someone from the Board of Education there. Very, very informative. I loved it. And then they ended up having dinner there, and Heavenly was happy. Heavenly was like, oh, we having dinner here? Oh, thank you. Whoever paid for dinner, thank you. Like, she was happy. It ended up only being them having dinner there. So I don't know if they had like a whole lot of people there listening to the panel, but dinner ended up being only them. So at dinner, Carrie starts it right off. And she's like, yeah, Lisa Nicole, I'm surprised you're here with everything you got going on. And that's the cue to speak about what's going on. So Lisa Nicole then says, yeah, this is what happened. I'm not under investigation, because Quad was like, you're not under currently an investigation. And she's like, no, not anymore. They investigated. What happened was, I have a lab and I own the lab. However, we didn't have the equipment to do the COVID testing. So basically they were outsourcing, and the third party company that they used were not getting the results back. She's like, we even used collections and we did everything trying to get it. So then how are you, ma'am? How do you have a lab and you're doing testing that you're not equipped to do? So why are you doing that? And why are you saying like, oh yeah, I own it, and it's my lab, this and that. We just didn't have the equipment in. So then don't do the test if you don't have the equipment in. Dumbass. Lisa is a dumbass. I'm sorry. So they end up letting it go. Dr. Simone calls Jackie. Jackie tells them about a girls' trip. Yay. Fine. Dr. Heavenly says, yeah, I don't want to, we need our own rooms because I don't want to, room with Quad because Quad touches herself. And Quad says, yes, I do. I'm sorry, I masturbate. Because then, they do all these clips back to Quad talking about how she masturbates. It's funny. I love Heavenly, y'all. Did I say that? Because she's just funny. They just need more Dr. Heavenly. So Anila and Simone start speaking. They're about to leave. Anila and Simone speaking. Simone is like, yeah, I'm hoping that on this trip you and Toya get a second to talk and everything. Anila's like, well, I tried to talk to her, and she's like, listen, let me show you. And she pulls out her phone. Dr. Simone is like, stop with all the theatrics, Anila. I don't know why they talk to her like that. I don't know if it's because Toya came in the group. She came in the group with Toya talking to her like she was 12. But why is Dr. Simone talking to her like that? Stop with the theatrics. And I was like, oh, okay. So they end up going into another room, and Anila's like, yeah, I tried to talk to her, this and that. And it just so happens that Toya walks up, and Toya's like, so you want to talk? And Anila's like, yeah, I want to talk. And they end up talking again in front of everybody, because what Dr. Simone was telling her was that you guys need to talk, but maybe not in front of everybody. So they end up talking, and Toya's like, yeah, we spoke and we were supposed to be fine. And then Anila's like, yeah, but then you didn't call me after that. So basically Anila's issue is that even after they made up, Toya didn't reach out anymore, and it basically wasn't like it was before. So that's her issue. And my thing is, okay, oh well, if she still has an attitude after you all make up, then that means that you can see each other and be cordial, but fuck her, basically, period. Who cares about Toya? Like, why do you care so much, Anila? But then Anila starts going crazy, and she's loud, and she's louder than she needs to be, and the ladies are just looking at her, and she storms off. And then Toya's like, look at that exit. Look at that exit. And I'm sorry, that part was funny because Toya was right. Like, what type of storm off are you doing? It just didn't take all that. And she looked real stupid. Okay, going through my notes. Give me 1 second. So then Dr. Simone is talking to, what's her name? Toya. And Dr. Simone is so theatrical as well. So how you gonna tell her don't come with the theatrics when she holds on to Toya's shoulders and she's like, Toya, you're not being transparent, you're not being vulnerable to the ladies. And Quad walks up. Why Quad walk up? Because Simone looks over at Quad and says, tell Quad that when she talks about your house and you being, all these different things about you, that it hurts your feelings and you don't like it, it hurts you. And Carrie's in the background, yes, it hurts her. And Quad is like, what do I have to do with this? Why are you putting me in it? So then her and Quad, Toya and Quad start speaking and they're going over. Quad is just like, look, I don't live in an apartment. So for you to call my place a little apartment, and Toya's trying to explain, I didn't mean that. I wasn't trying to be funny. I'm sorry. And she said, I'm sorry, which was amazing. I'm sorry. And then she's like, I wasn't talking about your apartment. And she said it again. So Quad is like, it's not an apartment. It's a townhouse, little girl. And Toya let her get that off. She was just like, yeah, I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. And she's like, I love your place. If I was single, I would be living in a place like that. I love your place. I'm sorry. I was not trying to be offensive. So they squashed it. Sound like Quad was about to cry or whatever. She's like, that's all I wanted was an apology. That's all I wanted. So they squashed it. Beautiful. Looking at my notes. Anila goes to see Dr. Jackie. She's basically trying to pick her brain about Toya. She lets her know what happened because Dr. Jackie was the only one that wasn't really at the convention because she was in labor and delivery. So she tells her what happened and she's like, what's up with her? Dr. Jackie's like, listen, Toya has been very frustrated and very kind of off this year. Like, I don't know what's going on with her, but she's a softie. And she's like, however, you just need to talk to her. And Neela's like, I try. She's like, fine then. If you feel like you've done all you can or whatever, some people are here for a reason and a season, and maybe you guys were just seasonal friends and you got to let it go. Like, why are you stressing over it? If y'all can't come together and you talk to her and she's still not, receptive, then you got to let it go. And this is why I love Dr. Jackie. This is why I love her. So that was it with that. And then they end up coming to, they're showing the ladies doing their, getting ready for the trip and everything. So Dr. Heavenly's luggage, I really love the LV luggage. It was really nice. I was not here for the way Dr. Contessa was packing. She made fun of herself, but ew, ma'am. She was just throwing clothes in there, unfolded. And I'm like, ugh, you're a whole doctor. Come on. Let's do it with a little bit of class. So they end up showing up to Dr. Jackie's practice where everybody was meeting. And nothing really happened there except Carrie gave her a shirt and said, thanks for inviting me on the trip because you basically said that white people were not invited. She's like, I didn't say that. And then they showed where she said that. Dr. Jackie definitely said white people are really not invited. So that was cute. Quad comes in. They talk about where's Heavenly and Dr. Contessa, and we got to pick them up on the way. So they end up leaving, going to pick them up. Dr. Heavenly gets on with the food. Lisa Nicole's taking the food from her. What's wrong with you? Why you looking like that? Oh, backtrack to Lisa Nicole driving up on the bus saying she's the driver. Nobody's wanting to go with her. Yada yada. Not important. So anyway, they get to Dr. Heavenly's. Her and Contessa come out. She got the food. Lisa Nicole, why are you looking like that? She's taking the food from her, whatever. And they were cordial enough for some people that were just like really fighting a couple days ago. They were cordial. Then they get to playing a game and you're talking about your worst fears, and they get to Carrie, hers was stupid. I don't want to crash an RV, whatever. She shouldn't even be there. Then they get to Lisa Nicole. She goes on this whole thing about trusting people, and she's not a good reader of people. Dr. Simone says, well, you get what you put out. I'm like, shade. Okay, Dr. Simone. And she's like, no, I don't believe that's true because I'm not like that. Whatever. Then Dr. Heavenly is trying to tell her, no, you are like that because, you're not trustworthy in terms of doing events and things like that. Like, you don't keep your word, and, nobody can really deal with you. And she, so they end up getting into it big time. So Lisa Nicole, hold on, I want to get this right. Oh, so Dr. Heavenly is trying to tell her, listen, you're talking about this whole thing with the COVID, and basically what I said already. The fact that you saying that you're the owner of the lab, however, you were testing and you didn't have the proper equipment, that means you're using third party, and none of that is okay. None of that is above board. So she, she gets mad and she goes off and she's like, you're a dumb, what she say? You're a dumb bullying bitch. And Heavenly says, your mama's a dumb bitch. Lisa Nicole, put this trifling bitch off my bus. Dr. Heavenly, put me off, pull over, put me off. I got an Uber card. And I'm like, I have never taken Uber, but I promise you they don't have a card. But we know what you mean, Dr. Heavenly. You got Uber, you got an Uber app. But when you're in the midst of being mad and, trying to come back, and, some things are a little off. So we going to always give Dr. Heavenly a pass. So that was basically the episode. And we'll see what happens next week. But thank you guys for coming back. And I will see you next week for Married to Medicine. And thank God we only got 2 more episodes of this shit left. And then we get to the reunion. Do we even think that the reunion is going to be good? I don't know. But hopefully it's better than the actual season. But all right. Thank you for coming back. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. And I will see you next week. Smooches.